Chapter 3 The Wicked in the Wood. The village of Bournemore lay within the estate of the Earl of Hampton. It was this village that used the well down by the River Wear, and for many years it was quite a pleasant walk from the end of the village road down to the well to collect water. However, one winter that feeling changed forever. At first, the villagers didn't know what had happened. There was a peculiar atmosphere by the well, as though the trees themselves were watching you. It was no longer the best fishing spot on the river. In fact, the river itself seemed devoid of life altogether. The trees of the surrounding forest were mysteriously silent. No birds, no insects, no noise of any kind. Even the wind appeared to avoid that section of the forest. As that first winter progressed, it was a hard one. Heavy frosts, snow, and biting winds. Farmers reported a high number of livestock deaths and even disappearances. It started with Mrs. Fitzgerald's chickens. Her henhouse was decimated one Sunday morning when everyone was in church. The local men stood around the wrecked hen house, muttering, hands on hips, offering various theories and sucking on their teeth. The popular theory was a fox, but a fox could not inflict the damage seen here. The roof of the hen house was missing, almost as if something had come along and taken a bite out of it. Wood, chickens, and all. Never had any of the villagers seen anything like it. The men shook their heads and wandered away from the carnage, muttering about bad omens. And a bad omen it was, as the worst winter the village had seen for many a year swept into the area. Many of the sheep farmers lost more winter lambs than they had before. Cows wandered into the farmyard with injured backs and raked with claw marks, and cats and dogs in the village began to disappear. Towns and villages further afield were not affected, but those who had somewhere else to go waited for a break in the weather to move their families away, as curses and evil doings monopolized the local gossip mongers. All in hushed tones, you understand, as you never know who or what was listening. As the winter chill faded into a blustery and wet spring, many of the villagers settled into their lives, looking over their shoulders on dark evenings. Mothers brought their children inside from playing long before dusk dropped, and no one stayed out after dark if they could help it. Spring flowed into summer. The sun came out, and the warmth and sunshine bolstered everyone's nerves. Children were once again playing in the streets, and the oppressive feeling of the last few months dissipated as the season chased away what winter had deposited on their doorsteps. Young Mary Ingman was watching her siblings argue and fight in the garden as she pegged out the washing. She knew what the fight was about, but she didn't intervene. It was Arthur's turn to fetch the water from the well, but, as usual, he was bullying his younger sisters to do it instead. Mary was the eldest of 6, and at almost 14 years old, was always given the lion's share of the chores. So when Ma came out of the cottage, broke up the fight, and asked her to go get the water, she gave a small, quiet laugh to herself, and shaking her head, she grabbed a couple of wooden pails. Giving Arthur a light slap on the back of his head, she set off through the village, swinging the empty pails as she walked. Eric Fuller, from 2 doors down, looked up from helping his Da fix Mrs. Hitchin's cart as Mary passed. Eric liked her. Eric's parents liked her. Mary's parents liked Eric. Her future was mapped out, it seemed. The only problem was Mary didn't like Eric. At all. Just the thought of him made her skin crawl. As she made her way to the end of the village road leading to the river, she couldn't help feeling that there must be something else in the world beyond marriage and babies. It was an enjoyable walk. Bees hummed and birds sang in the sun as a gentle breeze ruffled her hair. She rounded the bend in the road that led to the well. The trees seemed to lean a little closer towards her, the green of the leaves looking slightly darker, almost black in the shade. The birds were silent, and the bees had disappeared. Mary's steps faltered. She looked back the way she had come, took a deep breath, and hesitantly moved towards the well. Even slower, Mary placed the pails on the ground, leaned forward, and looked down into the dark hole of the well. During the spring, there had been a severe rainstorm that flooded the river and caused the well to overflow. But today, Mary could not see anything in the blackness. But somehow, that made it seem more ominous. She bent down to pick up the first pail, but something caught her eye at the edge of the tree line, and she froze, pail suspended in the air. The movement of something circling around a tree trunk, dark as the shadows of the forest. She swallowed and blinked a couple of times because it must have been a trick of the light. It looked nearly as big as the trunk of the tree it was coiled around. She slowly and mechanically hooked the pail onto the metal hook and lowered the pail without taking her eyes away from the tree line. Her breath caught in her throat. Just then she thought she saw something in the trees, just a glint of something blue and black, like a dark jewel twinkling in the gloom. Her grip on the rope was so tight her fingers ached. As she bent down to swap one pail for another, just for a second she took her eyes off the tree line, just for a second, but a second was all it took. There was a rush of wind that blew her off her feet, and there in front of her, jaws snapping, was a creature that nightmares are made of. A scream caught in her throat as she could hear her heartbeat pounding in her ears. As Mary fell backwards, the empty water pail she had grabbed flew in the air and smashed the creature square in the face. Mary pumped her legs against the ground to propel herself backwards. She stared in horror as it climbed across the top of the well, broken stones falling all around to get closer to her. It reared back on its legs, wings wide as its mouth gaped, slowly for the final strike. Mary's eyes darting round to find an escape route. She finally found her voice as she screamed. Her hand found a rock, and her fingers closed around it. She threw it as hard as she could. The rock hit the creature in the mouth. As it roared in pain and anger, Mary was already moving. The momentary paralysis broke, and she was running home as fast as her shaking legs could carry her, and she didn't stop until she was nearing her garden gate. The commotion had aroused almost everyone in the village. They had no idea what was coming, but it was just the beginning.